She's busy.
Just take a look at the notes.
Okay.
You good?
All right. Hello, everyone. Hello, Mr. Easter. I haven't seen you in years. Good to see you. Dino, Sarah, everybody. Good. Thanks for having me. Just wanted to provide a little status update on the Kennedy Park renovation project capital campaign. Bit of a slow start, but that's why we built in extra time on the end, knowing that people do things during the summer. So what you'll see here very quickly, a few slides in, is that we're still going to hit our calendar marks for the campaign. So just want to give you a brief update on what we've done so far, and been working a little bit with Sean and Sarah in the background. And today I just want to make sure that moving forward, we just kind of know who's involved and who's going to be approving things, so we can just kind of keep the calendar rolling and going smoothly. So I just wanted to confirm the stakeholders per my conversations with Sean and Sarah, which were Village of Weston Parks and Rec Department, hello, DCE Youth Baseball and JV Baseball, the Fast Pitch JV softball teams, DCE Youth Hockey, and I definitely wanted to put the skateboarding community in there, knowing that there's going to be some renovations there as well. Moving on then, we did have a logo done for Sarah's awesome presentation for the Community Foundation, and we tweaked it a little bit per Sean's comment from the committee here. So we took the half moon out that lived there with the Weston logo and Marathon County stuff, and we're pretty happy with where this has landed. So we're calling this the hero logo that we'll be using throughout the campaign. And then, don't need to get approval on any of these right now, but again, we'll figure out from this meeting, sport-specific logos, which would really help this campaign, which could be an awesome little touch to empower each organization and each member of stakeholders. And so we just have some options here, and we're ready to do whatever else we need to do. As you'll see my little asterisk there in the bottom, can we add a skateboarding version? We'd love to. That could be fun as well. So again, whoever is going to be, on maybe a subcommittee or whatnot to approve these things, we've got multiple hockey versions, we've got multiple baseball/softball versions, etc. So this is just kind of what we've been up to on the design front. And we can finish up these sports-specific logos very quickly. Then, this was part of our request, RFP response, which was the creative brief. And this is what my team will be using in the next month to create the entire creative campaign. This is a creative brief. Probably boring right now. You can read it later if you want. I'll give you the high level. It's basically this is what we do at the agency. We figure out what's the product, what's the issue, how do we address it, who are we talking to, what's our relevant insight, what's the single most important thought, and that right there is, a community that cares about its kids and gives back is a great place to live and raise a family. Basically lifted that from Sarah's presentation, so thank you for that, Sarah. And that's going to be our team's single most important thought as we put together creative material for the campaign, whether that's video, that's print pieces that could be mailed out, that's social media content, et cetera, et cetera. Then we have a why might they believe us section, and then what tone. I think the tone's very important here, which is approachable, engaging, heartwarming, and fun. And then mandatories, we've got our Friends of Kennedy Park logo. URL, that's kind of a TBD right now. I'd love to talk to the committee and the village in the future here about potentially creating a standalone landing page for the campaign where people can go directly instead of having to click through the site. Excuse me. And contact info also to be determined. And then deliverables, which we'll talk about here next. So as I stated earlier, our calendar, we are definitely still on pace to hit a campaign rollout of September 15th. We could probably hit an earlier one if we needed to. But as you can see, phase 1 would be the creative brief, which is completed and approved. Phase 2, that's what my team and I are going to do starting next week, which is basically come up with that campaign brand look and feel, and the brand voice, which is basically what do we sound like when we're talking to people? Do we sound like Nike, or do we sound like Jimmy John's? That's the type of brand voice exploration that we'll be doing, that type of thing. Probably don't want to sound like IBM now that I think about it, but we'll have a little more fun and approachable brand voice for the community to make the ask. And then, phase 3 is just our marketing plan and campaign concepts. And so that's basically when we would present to you folks in some way, shape, or form, and whomever that ends up to be. And then we make revisions during those 2 weeks as well. And then the content production, which is kind of the fun part. I put that earlier, August 12th. It's actually going to be even earlier than that because I believe on the 27th, we're going to come out and shoot some baseball games out at the park, which will be fun. So the video cameras will be out of the bag sooner than August 12th for sure. But I'd like to schedule as many shoots out at the park and various other places, basically throughout the whole month of August. And then the campaign rollout would still be September 15th. Just confirming some immediate deliverables, the logos that I showed earlier. So again, you guys can decide who's going to be making those approvals. I talked to Sarah and Sean earlier about naming rights. So those naming rights at the field at the new park once it's renovated. We'll be exploring a tagline and the brand voice that I mentioned earlier, as well as those design mock-ups. So any other specific asks that need to be made to either companies or private donors, et cetera, can be added in here and thrown in here. We're super flexible and ready to do whatever needs to be done. We understand that these capital campaigns kind of take on a life of their own at times and are kind of living, breathing things. And then finally, I don't know if we want to do this right now. We definitely don't have to. I'm not sure if Zoom will be friendly or not on this, but these are just 2 videos. And if you want to get the PDF from Sean, you can click on each one of those thumbnails. These are 2 videos that we've done in the last year for different entities that I think we should strike that similar tone. The Wyowega Fremont School District, we did it for all of their senior athletes to kind of inspire the younger kids. It's got a nice tone to it. It's nice and approachable and warm. And then the Greenheck Turner Community Center, you may have seen that go up down the road. We just did a video for Sarah and the crew over there, and it turned out really nice. And we would probably use the exact same videographer, the same drone, etc., in that production that we would for you folks. So I'm going to need to sit here and watch 2 5 to 7 minute videos. So if you don't, yeah, okay, good. So and that's basically it. So I don't know if we want to talk right now or how you guys want to talk through it about approval process on things like logos, on things like the campaign itself when it comes to presentation time and that sort of thing.
It's the time to talk is right now.
Okay.
So that's why we invited everybody. So as far as the creative brief, probably is to start, because they've seen it, but I didn't know if they actually need to approve it.
Sure.
Sarah's seen it, I've seen it, and just the process. So if there's something that we're missing in that brief, that should be added or taken away.
I mean, to me, everything looked pretty thorough. You're the professional, so.
Pretend to be, yes. No. Yeah, this is a pretty standard brief as far as layout and outline goes. So the project's pretty clear to us. And again, yeah, if you sleep on it and something pops up, like, oh man, we definitely should be talking about this in the brief. It could easily be adjusted.
So we kind of struggled getting a meeting together with all the partners, committee, as we only have baseball, a little bit of softball here right now, which I wish there was more here. But Jess, Sarah, Jimmy, anything we're missing here as far as what you're seeing?
Not with this. So our next step, and Gerald talked about that, is we have to collectively come up with that naming rights document. Because we can't go to the donors without some sort of naming rights opportunity, and I think that's where you guys come in too then. Are we naming a field or a fence? What are your parameters regarding naming rights? Because that's where we're halted right now. We don't want to begin this campaign without being able to tell donors $1 million is going to be the fence, $2 million is going to be the field, 500,000 will be light poles. And I believe it's the village that needs to set those kind of precedents so we know where we're at. I think those big asks are lifetime commitment asks. Those are not sponsorships, those are not 2-year deals. Those are the entirety of the field, as long as the light poles are up, but you guys have to help us make that decision. Yes, Tino?
So at the meeting I missed, it's pretty clear that we're giving the onus of the fundraising to the Friends of the Kennedy Park group. So I mean, I think if, in a lot of ways, I think that if you guys are gonna take on that level of fundraising, then I sort of think you guys can sort of set those terms. I mean, we're essentially, as per that prior meeting, we're giving up that bit to them. And so if we shouldn't hamstring the people that we're asking to do the fundraising. So, I mean, I think in a lot of ways, I think you should lead that discussion with us.
And I think we're fine with that. I don't want to step on your toes. And if the village has a precedent or I don't know if it's a law or a policy that needs to be updated so that you can name fields or parks or signage, I just want to make sure that you guys have some say in that. Sean talked about looking at the WASA Park and Rec sponsorship deal and naming rights, and there was lots of discussion about what WASA had done in the past, if you were going to follow that or not.
So the bulk of our policy is from Stevens Point, actually.
Okay,
And it's a naming rights policy. We did talk about sponsorships in case you don't actually get naming rights based on the policy, you know, like in the future. So like they have 3-year deals for the People's Soccer Complex and the playground there, you know, so that's something I think is beyond the naming rights. You know, so if you get to that point where they haven't purchased the naming rights or invested that amount, that, you know, we could also go there. So there is a naming rights policy in the packet tonight, which we discussed at the end of June, beginning of June, just to lay something out there. And I mean, if it's 51% of the build, you know, do you name it after them and for how long? Which is something you brought up too. Is it 30 years or is it forever? You know, in perpetuity is really hard, no matter what. I mean, we get donations for benches, flower planters, but you may get to a point where you can't maintain it, or, you know, something changed where you have to change that. So I think it's really about discussing that option.
Have we identified all the different fundraising opportunities physically in the park? So there's the, you know, Gerald's sister gives 15 million bucks, we're gonna name it after Renee. But there are also, I gave a bunch of money to, I think you did to the high school, you know, our names are on bricks in a building. So I think that part of this is to identify how much is brick worth, how much is signage on the right field fence worth, how much is, you know, can we name the home plate on the big field after Mike Simon, you know, sort of, it seems like we're focused on this idea of naming rights, But in fact, the fundraising goal would be to identify all the opportunities. And as we scale up through all the opportunities, the naming rights discussion would play itself out normally. So I think if we were to ask Lindsay Lewitsky what the process was for naming the tiles at the ice rink. You know, there's all of that sort of work that's been done in the community, and we can ask those people for help. But I think that it's an incomplete step to move from today to naming rights, and I understand that we need to have that as you guys go out in the world. But I also think that you guys also have to have how much is, you know, this tile by the band shell going to be worth, et cetera, et cetera. So.
I don't know, I'm just kind of looking for what Sarah has to say, it's her expertise. If you have some ideas, if you have a layout for us and, you know, and then we can
Yeah.
review it and vote on it, that's just kind of what we're looking for.
Okay. Yes, so that is what I'm hearing from you guys as well. So if Gerald and I give you a one-page document of a layout of naming rights and of different opportunities to put your name on a fence or a dugout or a swing, and give that to you guys to kind of review, are you okay with that?
Absolutely.
For your next meeting, or even via email, can we give that to you to review?
I'm okay with that.
And we certainly won't hit all of the things, because I don't know what all of the things will be in that part, but we will use the document that was given to us by Rhett Wagner and go from there. And use that document to equal the 13 or 14 or 15 million, wherever we're at with that price point. And that'll be the starting point of being able to go to those donors with. One field is going to be about $5 million. This is how you break it out. 2 million for the lights, 1 million for the dirt, 500,000 for the dugouts. Are you interested in putting your name on something? That gives us a starting point. Is that okay with the committee? Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, this policy we have here, is this the one we had, or is this?
That's the one you had.
revised?
No,
I didn't know if that was.
no,
And how
hasn't
would
been changed.
How would we maybe recognize those sponsors then too? Would that be in the layout, like whether it's a banner on the, you know?
Yeah, those
outfield
big
or-
asks, but they're built into the cement or into the chain link fence or into the dugout or the concession stand. It's part of the construction phase, depending on that donor level. Banners and sponsorships, yeah, those are $500, $1,000 on vinyl banners that get reprinted every year or so. What we're asking for right now are some large foundation donations that are just included in the brick of the structure.
You were saying put into the cement, we were talking, I thought at one point about that, how long would this be named after the person? You know, if it's 20 years, 25 years.
It's up to you.
Well, I know, but she's talking about.
So Green
if
Neck
you put
Turner,
in cement,
Green Neck Turner
then-
Center is gonna be Green Neck Turner Center forever. I'm assuming. And they have signs inside that literally say that, and it's on the building. So, you know, is it 30 years? Is it 40 years? In perpetuity? You know, if they put up the funds to cover the destruction of an entire field or the entire park,
Mhm.
should it be named that forever?
Yeah.
I think we would do a separate agreement in those cases. I think the naming rights policy gives you the guidelines, but then when that donation actually comes in, there's a separate policy. A separate agreement, excuse me. Go ahead.
That's fine. I was just gonna say, I mean, for things that are cast in stone essentially, you know, whether it's embedded in the concrete or in the fence paneling, I mean, those things do have a useful life. So, you know, if it's 20, 30, 40 years from now, and we go to replace that, hopefully the Friends of Everest or Kennedy Park still exists. They're still running tournaments. There's still activity happening there. So if that needs to get replaced, they go back to, you know, the Ermeling Foundation and say, hey, Barb, we need to redo this, are you ready to fund it again? And you guys say, yep, I'm ready to, you know, re-up, and here's another, you know, $3 million, go do it. Or maybe you say, no, sorry, I got it 40 years ago, I don't have the money now to do it again. And you go to the next one down the block, or there's been enough money in the maintenance fund for the years through the regular banner sales and some of that, that you can keep that up. But I think eventually, you know, everything does run its course and it has its useful life used up, and that's hopefully for people, you know, a couple generations from now to figure out, because once it's built, it will be there. But I think it is important if we have that person who is willing to give millions of dollars, that, you know, 2-3 years from now, they're not all of a sudden, you know, wiped off the slate
Well,
because
right.
somebody else is giving a donation. So I think trying to figure out, you know, I know our policy says 51% gives you naming rights and what's in the packet, but, you know, making that clear, you know, that's, you know, for the lights or for the field. I mean, if somebody says, here's $7 million, I want 2 fields, it's kind of, okay, cool, we'll take that.
Right.
But
Well, I was just kind of wondering when she was saying that, and I know part of the discussion at one point had been that there was a term, if you will, or a.
Yeah.
And I'm going, well, okay, if it's in stone, it's pretty hard to.
yeah, but those, I think that would be reserved for those people that are really, you know, donating the money, you know, like a Green Neck Turner Center. Or,
And some of those donations they're from foundations, and that foundation would build into an agreement that maintenance probably is, because that foundation will long exist, the individual that's actually giving the funds.
So I have a question. So if they are doing that, is that agreement with the Friends of, or is that agreement with Weston?
That agreement would be with Parks and Rec, and it would have to be approved by the Board of Trustees, because it's on our property. And the way that our naming policy, the draft is that it's approved through Parks and the Board of Trustees.
Okay, so then the follow-up question is, all of this is a Village of Weston asset. Every tile, fence, everything in the park. So I just want to be really clear that we're empowering a group that isn't the Village of Weston, without a memo of understanding or a contract, to go out and raise money for Village of Weston assets at their discretion. Am I accurate in what I've just described? Okay.
I think there should be probably an MOU or some kind of agreement then between the village and the.
Because the reason I ask it is twofold. One, I missed a meeting and I've stated that I disagree with the strategy. But the other part of that is putting the onus on Sarah and her husband and her friends to come up with whatever money they're going to come up with without a memo of understanding and without a legal contract binding them to us. Sarah could keep the money and say, I'll give you all this money except I demand you don't have a skate park upgrade. And just because it's funny, because it's me returning to an old joke, but she could literally say, or the Friends of Kennedy Park, sorry, Sarah, the Friends of Kennedy Park, without a memo of understanding, without a legally binding contract, could place any condition on the money after the fact. And so without addressing that, not wanting to be a negative Nancy, but this only moves forward if we have that document. The other part of that is, this is an unfair expectation to place on a separate organization to both fund and then fund for maintenance, something that is a Village of Weston asset. So I think I would urge you, Friends of Kennedy Park, to make that agreement with this body, because without that, I wouldn't do it. You know, we had a long-standing agreement with the city of Wausau before we raised the money for the 400 block. And so this is a sizable endeavor on your part to benefit us and benefit the community. It's worthwhile to define those parameters.
So I think that is why we entered an agreement with the Community Foundation. so that the community foundation held the money, and it wasn't us. And the statement of the community foundation, Friends of Kennedy Park, is that the money will be used for Kennedy Park. I can certainly go to them and ask them to help create the MOU between the foundation, Friends of Kennedy Park, and the Village of Weston, so that that's on record, yes. That might
I
help.
think there's a bigger portion of this though too, once this facility is built. The organizations involved are likely going to want first right to use the park. So I would also say those things should be included in there, because if you guys go through and help fund and build this great park, and all of a sudden this other baseball group's like, hey, I wanna use this facility. Is there something in writing that actually says Everest Youth Baseball, Everest Softball, Everest gets to use this? Or does it get to be, baseball club X now can rent it this weekend on their own terms whenever they want? So I think that's also something that, I know I've talked to Sean about, is making sure that we informally have that, right? Like Everest Youth Baseball drags the fields, lines fields, does a lot of stuff on the facilities. And we as the Village of Weston are kind of like, yeah, Everest Youth Baseball will take care of it. Build batting cages, cool, do that. So we've done some of these things informally, and I think it's very important, especially with this type of facility now, to formalize those agreements so that it's known. And all of a sudden it's not a different village board that's like, hey, yeah, that organization's gonna pay us a lot more money to use this facility now. Cool, let's go partner with them.
Yeah, and I think part of that was future maintenance too.
Yeah.
Like, so we've talked about the agreements, like through the whole process, like we need an agreement with youth softball, youth baseball, hockey, because like you said, you invest the money, you invest the time, the fundraising, and then we can just boot you off. Well, you don't want to do that, right? So we need those agreements in place, for sure.
And when you're gone, Sean, in happy retirement, and someone else takes over for you, those are important conversations, because you are absolutely correct. Another organization will come to the village and ask to rent with a larger checkbook than us.
And we know there's some out there.
And who exactly would put the agreement into place to
The village,
the village?
Yeah. We've talked about it before. We know we need these. I mean, there's multiple groups we need to do this with. No different than, our intergovernmental agreements as far as street projects, water projects, sewer projects. We've just never had those. I mean, we had a lot of investment from youth soccer when they wanted to use our fields. And then they left. And then, baseball has been there the whole time. And, I've been around for, 24 years. So, we knew what the expectation was, the village did, but there's been plenty of organizations that have contacted us, softball pretty much every year, and now we're working with softball, which is great, but they still need an agreement. We need an agreement. They probably have one in between them two, just so we can regulate who's doing what, and then future boards, future committee, board members, they all know the expectation. Because we can all leave, and then what happens? So if that agreement's not in place, then what happens?
So who's gonna do that? Our attorney get together with them and kind of work one out that have our attorney look at what?
Well, I think we could draft one that there shouldn't be a lot to it.
It'd be easier to draft the current agreement right now, and then evolve that as we start moving along. I think that would give us a starting place. And then as we build field 1, field 2, field 3, we can make that more expensive.
Yeah, so I think there's sort of two sides to the table, if you will, because it's a negotiation. So I think the Friends of Kennedy Park should come to the table with things that they're prepared to do and prepared not to do, right? Okay. And then Weston should come to the table with things that we're prepared to do and not prepared to do. And I think that in the middle of that negotiation, some clarity will be found. I mean, there are examples of these agreements, but I think that it's, it is something, like you were saying, I think that the naming rights discussion is real and valid and part of this. But I think that this memo of understanding between those folks and the Village of Weston is the core of the next steps for those two people. Gerald has to do his own thing, but you know, you guys got to do a completely separate thing.
Well, I also think there is a percentage based or something as far as Everett Baseball raises 1% of the whole project. Do they get exclusive rights to the whole thing? I'm just saying, I
No,
mean,
it's a fair.
devil
it's a real discussion.
advocate here,
Very
like,
good statement.
If Sarah walks in
Fair
with a $15 million check, she should have some expectation.
yeah,
I am the one bringing this money to the table, making this amazing thing entirely possible. So we should acknowledge that. I mean, because again, if Friends of Kennedy Park bring no money to the table, this isn't going to happen. And so the expectation, I mean, they're the ones who are essentially going to pay for building this and the way it's put together now. And as such, they should have, you know, some say in it.
Why can't you look at what the downtown Y and what the Curling Club has done? A tribute wall naming all the donors from the top down to a certain level, so they all get recognition at the facility.
I think that's great, but I think that's a discussion that the Friends of Kennedy and the Village of
Well, you
Weston
can
have
do a
to have.
tribute wall for the Friends of Kennedy.
Well, that would be a discussion that they have to have. I think, you know, so that we're not gonna answer that, or we're not gonna set that now, so.
Do we need name and address for minutes?
Yes. You say your name and address, please. You say your name and address out loud, please, just for your comment.
Sir, are you in agreement? Can you state your name, please? Okay,
Okay.
fair enough. All right. Do we want to just leave it there and you come back to us, with the layout?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Are we okay with moving on to number 7?
you're right.
Okay.
Yeah, my final question, and maybe we talk offline, because I've worked with Sarah multiple clients before, so whether anyone here wants to be involved in the approval process or not, I'll talk to Sarah about that, and then we'll figure that last part out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I will definitely share, like, with the committee. You know, I mean, there's certain things that need approval, and certain things that, if there's a consensus as far as, you know, moving forward. Doesn't necessarily need approval, but we want you to all see it, you know, so you know what's going on. We don't want you to like be left in the dark and, it happens, unfortunately.
Can I ask, before we completely leave the topic, where are we at with field 1 in that construction progress? Because that was supposed to happen sometime this year.
So,
Where are we at with that?
so REI is currently working on the construction plans for that. They surveyed the entire park and they're currently working on a plans for it. And we know that there's funds dedicated to, that. Though, so the actual design, and then there's additional funds. But as you also said, is don't spend that money on the field. Spend it on the bathrooms, shelter, and then raise money for the field. Because nobody wants to give money for, as far as field number one. You're like, upgrade the bathrooms, upgrade the shelter, as far as village funds. I'm not saying you didn't say don't spend it, but there are funds dedicated to doing the work at Kennedy Park. There's $766,000 between the construction plans. For this year, they'll be done. But you don't want to ask for money for bathrooms and shelter.
No, that was going to be used for field one.
And it can be, it's just, you don't want to ask for money for a shelter and bathrooms. Right.
But that money was gonna be used for field one, so my question is, where are we at with the progress of field one?
So they're currently working on the design plans. And we can't bid it out until those are done. Once we actually have the plans, the construction plans, then we can bid it out. And we're hoping to do that and award it before the end of the year, which is what we have to do based on the funding. And be used by the end of 2026. So, but we have to award it this year and have signed contracts. So, and it could be the field, it could be the support area, which would be the bathroom, shelter. It all depends on where that comes in.
Hold on, didn't we make a commitment to build the field?
Yeah,
Wasn't that already decided?
So the goal was to do phase one, which includes shelter and the bathrooms. It's not just the field. So,
Okay. So then where are we?
so we're hoping that we can raise some funds and do all of it at one time. Or,
Didn't we allocate money for that?
so it was, yes, it was allocated for phase one in general.
Okay.
And the construction documents for phase one, which includes the shelter and the bathrooms. And I keep saying that, and one of the discussions, or one of the items that was brought up was, when you go for ask, you don't want to ask for bathrooms and shelter. You want to ask for the field, ultimately. So,
but we were under the impression that that money is going to be used for field one.
and that's where it was dedicated for phase one. But we just don't know, if it's building that field or if it's more. If we raise some more funds, it could be all done at one time.
So we're just doing a portion of it now because we're.
Well, we talked that, we could probably do field one for $600,000 to $700,000, which is, just under what we actually have available, which was dedicated to phase one. But we also have design costs for the whole park in general, which is part of the process. So, our plan is to
I don't
bid,
understand.
yeah,
Because we approved $766,166 to
Phase one.
phase one, which was the softball field, correct?
you said phase one though. So phase one includes the bathrooms and the shelter
Right.
upgrades.
Okay,
So-
so then when are we
How
gonna
much
build,
are those?
when are we gonna build the softball?
So we're gonna bid it out this fall and we'll see where the bids come in. I mean, we can't say it's gonna actually happen unless we get the bids in at the amount we have available.
So does the plan include the fields and the bathroom and shelter?
So phase one included the bathroom and the shelter, and that's all I'm trying to get across. You can determine if you wanna just build the field. You don't have to build the bathroom and the shelter.
What is that $700 and whatever $1,000, what is that going to pay for?
So right now, it's gonna pay for the construction documents for Kennedy Park,
Right.
and then the remainder is left for whatever you decide.
Well,
But Sean, we
You're building
decided
the
on
se-
phase one.
yeah.
Right,
You got the shelter and you got the bathroom.
And that's what I'm saying,
And
so,
is the field included in that?
yes, so phase one is the field, the bathroom and shelter.
Right.
But if we bid it out and say the field comes in at one price and the shelter and bathroom is not something that can be afforded with the remaining funds, then you have to determine what you wanna build.
I know you, a while back, I think from day one, some of the groups said that to you, if we have a shortage or whatever you wanna call it, that they would prefer that we use our funds to build the shelter in the bathroom.
And
because it's hard to-
that's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So we know the cost estimate came in for phase one at field over 1 million. So the fact that we could build it for 600,000-700,000 based on the cost estimate and using some village resources is one thing. So till we get it out there and bid, we don't know actual costs. And then you guys will all see it, the board will see it and determine what we can build
Well, okay,
based on the bid.
cause I kept hearing you, I was thinking that 700 or 600,000 was going to be used entirely for the bathrooms and shelters, and I'm going, oh, well, I thought there was supposed to be something going towards the field.
So we had this discussion about the field.
Am I wrong?
We had the discussion for the field, I think when there was snow on the ground. So I have two questions. One, why hasn't the RFP gone out yet? And two, will the softball players have a softball field next spring?
They have one right now. We already built it this spring. There's a field there available for them to use. And
What are we talking about?
so they're talking about the new field between the pool and the skate park.
Sir, what are you talking about?
The new field.
Yes, so we redid Diamond One at Kennedy this spring, so softball could use it. And they did use it limited due to a lot of rain,
I'm asking the committee about the new field.
the new field, yes.
Okay.
Do we have, a layout? I think I have a layout.
So the RFP has gone out, it's been awarded to REI for the design. They're currently working on it. The entire park has been surveyed. All the utilities are located. We're meeting with them on Wednesday this week to go over the village-owned utilities that are not marked. So they know where irrigation is, electrical lines that are not part of WPS or, you know, the village. It's parks, not just the village. TDS, Frontier, all that. So, they are working on design with actual elevations, et cetera, to build the entire park. And it was released and awarded to the REI. It was 76,000. So, I don't,
Okay,
sorry.
so you're gonna pay that out of that. money that was
766,
allowed
yes.
to you?
So there's still additional 680 something
Okay.
left.
Now, if you start building the new field with the new bathroom and shelters, and it's costs more than that, then are you going to go to the committee here?
You have to determine
Or-
what we can build based on the
Okay.
bids that come in.
Okay.
So if it comes in at 900,000, you can determine, are we building just a field for 680?
Okay.
Or are we doing, you know, bathroom shelter, part of the field? There's another way to fund it. So you have to determine that.
Because what I wanted to ask the committee is, so did you intend to have to get funds for field one at all?
We wanna start fundraising as soon as possible,
I know.
knowing the timeframe.
Well, I'm just
We
saying,
understand
if we fall short of
Correct.
what we have for that, then would we come back to you and say, can you help us, or do we have to go back and start doing some cutting and changing and?
But I think what Sarah's saying is they were under the impression that we put the first dollar in for phase one, which phase one is
Right.
the softball diamond. And it's
And
right here.
the bathroom,
I'm
shelter,
just wondering if we,
parking lot.
if we fall short, what then?
But that's not in that area.
At that point, we would rely on you guys to make the best decision for the, for the park. We would suggest, at least starting the baseball field in however manner that we can, because we also understand that going to donors and talking to the people in the community, getting that first step and getting that first baseball field created so people can understand the vision of what we want to be able to do later is a huge step in being able to have those conversations.
Right, well, because that was my thought is, okay, if we luck out and then we have enough funds to do it, but if we fall short and you don't want us to make shortcuts in some of this to afford it, then would we come to you and say, okay, can you help us out, or do we? Okay,
And sorry if I'm not misquoting what happened, but you don't wanna ask for shelter and bathroom money. You wanna ask for baseball field
And
money.
it would
You know,
be
so that,
ideal if it
so
happened.
I get that, you know,
Knowing that the fall is only a month away. We also understand that where we are in this marketing process, we're a ways away from raising significant funds.
right,
We were under the impression that the first field, we would at least start digging this year for that first field. That's what was discussed. So we're just slower than that process. Because you're telling me we won't start digging until next spring.
well, we have to award it this year and have signed contracts, which was part of the ARPA funds. So it has to be awarded and signed documents in 2024, completed by 2026. So, I don't know if we ever said that it actually will be started this year, but if we have a signed contract.
I'm 100% sure we did say that we were gonna put shovels in the grounds. I wouldn't be this confused about this if I didn't have a strong sense that, yeah, I mean, we sat at the bowling alley, then we've sat here, and we've talked about this first field with softball. And it is, as a member of the committee, it was my understanding that we would begin construction this year and have it prepared for softball for next year, for them to play games on. If I'm misremembering any of that, that's entirely possible. But I think that we spoke in good faith and said, we're gonna have a softball field for you for 2025, not for 2026.
And they have one. And we prepared it.
Okay, again, wait,
Well-
no. But I'm not talking about that. I am talking about the field that was defined by phase one. Yes, they have a field today and that's great, but these discussions were about phase one.
Jamie, by chance, can you look back in the minutes and see if there was a discussion? Because I remember approving the 700, and so the board as well, $766,000 for state schools.
I was just looking at the REI contract, because we still need the documents to build it. And so REI's contract says that the project schedule for construction of phase one activities to begin October 2024. So, I mean, we can ask REI to put as much speed behind the deliverables of that phase one. I don't know that the field would be done, but
There would be a shovel moving, right? So there's,
And that
shows progress.
Yes, that goes back to my first statement. I was just wondering where we're at with the progress of field one. If we have a shovel in the ground this year, that shows that we're moving forward, and that helps with those donation asks long term. If we're not putting a shovel in the ground until 25, and then spring of 25, because we don't do construction outside in January, February, March. That's just a slower process. If that's where we're at, then that's where we're at, but it's not,
Is that
that was
something
not our assumption.
that you would address to REI, or?
we would address that to REI, because the contact's been with Sean, but we can address to REI. It says all subsequent phases after one would be ready for bidding March 2025. So anything two and 5, I think we have 5 phases, wouldn't be until March. But it says construction of phase one activities to begin in October 2024. I think we'd have to ask if they are on schedule for that. That would be the next question.
Thank you. Yep.
We're good?
We're good, Amy, thank you.
I knew my binder was thick early. Okay, we will, then move on to number 7. Discussion and possible action, naming rights. policy.
You could
Well, we kind of,
defer that till next
Right.
meeting with the,
we can combine that with 6, so. Okay. You're okay with that?
Yeah.
Anything to add? Okay. Perfect. Pickleball court update.
So we were asked to include this, it was something that the village decided to move forward with, putting it out there. We know we have somebody on staff that is able to actually draw the design. They have a preliminary layout of pickleball courts, 16 courts at Mockmuller. This week, Dr. Hoppy is, supposed to be doing the surveying work. So we should have something hopefully by the end of the week, as far as where they could actually put the design on there, not just the layout, but actually design it based on the elevations out there. I talked to Ike this morning and Michael as far as where we stand with things. It also is one of those things where we're in the middle of road construction season, so they're working on multiple road projects, so it may be a little bit behind where we hope it would be. But once we get those, surveying completed this week and get those elevations, he should be able to start working on a little bit more of the design work.
So can I ask a follow-up question here, because pickleball can't go to Mockmuller until Mockmuller T-ball, baseball comes back to Kennedy, is that
It's
correct?
a different location.
Okay.
So pickleball's all the way on the north end where the soccer field is.
Okay.
So it won't be where the T-ball fields are.
Okay.
So
Will there be enough parking for both until we move T-ball?
Pickleball people are scary.
Yeah. I- So it's in the best interest of everybody to
Yeah,
move
just get
T-ball
out of there, yeah.
before pickleball comes in, okay?
only on Monday through Thursday.
Yeah, Monday through Thursday, that's great.
That's when T-ball's busy.
Yeah.
Pickleball is good the rest of the time.
Did we ever figure out how we're funding this?
No.
I
The
mean-
committee and the board approved moving forward with getting the design ready and then determine if it can be funded.
But I mean, it's quite a bit of money, as I recall.
And that's part of it, is to get a cost estimate together. So we know the pickleball group is willing to raise some of the funds. Not necessarily all of them. They could raise all of them, we don't know. Because our current estimate is around 1.5, 1.6. Could be higher, I don't know. Shane's nodding his head, so I'm pretty good with 1.5, 1.6.
1.6.
I guess, yeah.
And they've talked about possibly raising up to $1 million for it. So the village still has to determine, like, nothing's been set in stone at all. Like, it's literally getting the, design out there and then figuring out what the cost is.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I know we're working on Kennedy Park and now we're doing another, I mean, not that I'm against.
We love
having
parks,
a
Barb.
pickleball.
We love parks, Barb.
Yes,
And
But-
meetings.
Sorry, we love parks.
yes, but it's, I'm kind of going, okay, where are these funds coming from? And, we're limited to what.
Do you want to add to that, Shane? I mean, you were pretty confident, you know sponsors and.
What I proposed to them was, we raise the money for the pickleball courts. Village pay for the rest of it. Which usually you do.
Which is similar to the baseball, the support facilities, the restroom, the shelter, the shade,
Correct,
but the courts themselves would be pickleball.
correct. And then also, we have the base course at the village. We have part of the trail sitting in there. We can use that for the whole facility, not just for the courts. Because based on my design, I suggest we put 8 inch and a half gravel in there and they can use it in the village. That dropped the cost for the whole facility, not just the courts. So, and that is available. And I'll talk to Michael said, yes, we can do that.
I mean, as long as you can do it, I'm looking at funding and I'm going, okay.
And that's part of our CIP plan, like, if we put it in there and the board doesn't wanna do it, we know they have the option of taking it out, keeping it in. You know,
Like I said, I'm concerned that it all sounds good, but, it's a lot of money coming from two different directions.
we know, and we appreciate all the support for parks, obviously. Like, we have not done a lot for multiple years, and the support this year, I mean, everybody that's used the playgrounds, seen the playgrounds, absolutely loves the playground. You know, there's still work to do, but if you've been out to Yellow Banks, seen the curbing installed last week, and they're gonna finish up, they're gonna do 3 more this week, like, and they were working on topsoil and the mulch today. So, I mean, it has turned out tremendously compared to what we were providing previously. So, there's still a lot to do, but we appreciate all the support, for sure.
Do you have something to add?
I think we should be able to use some of the road tax. Because that money is supposed to be spent on tourism. And that will definitely generate tourism to our community. Because if you have a tournament over there in McMillan Park, people come to that tournament, they're not gonna stay in the city of Warsaw. They stay in the Weston because that's the shortest distance for them to get to those sports. And there's nothing out there really. So I think it's gonna help out increase the activity in the village and help the businesses.
And that's another one of those where I think we need an agreement, like, they have to dedicate themselves to bringing in, is it 2 tournaments per year or 3 tournaments per year? I mean, if you're gonna put in 16 courts, they need to say, we're gonna dedicate ourselves to bringing in these tournaments per year.
Well, Magic Stadium definitely in there.
Yeah, but something we have to talk about with the pickleball, the group,
Right?
like, you can't just say, you build them, but, well, yeah, they may come, no, let's say they will come, they will say, we're gonna host 2 tournaments this year.
They built, those are the tournament they already folded.
Right, but we need that agreement in place,
Just
no different
last
than
weekend.
baseball.
Last weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it was a Magic Stadium. And they have a couple more coming up yet.
Okay.
So those are gonna be over there. It's not gonna be, because Marathon County, they wanna build something else in. So those courts is not gonna be there for long. And the 16 court, I think they bring a lot of people in.
Yeah, if you could kindly come to the table with like how many tournaments like currently Wassa area is having, I have no idea. But if you could maybe bring that to the table, that might help us get a better idea.
Sure.
Then we can look at room tax, because if you can show that it's going to bring in hotel dollars, that's not eligible.
Well, and the nice part about artificial intelligence is you could actually track who came in town last weekend, to some extent, 90%, 92%, depending on who you talk to. They could see the traffic that came to the hotels, the restaurants, and where they went. And the CVB has access to that. So they could actually see how many people went from Marathon Park to the hotel. I didn't hear that.
Sorry.
I don't want to hear it, do
That's
I?
an inside joke.
So, from Marathon Park to the hotels, Marathon Park to the restaurants, what restaurants they went to. So you could actually see those numbers, which is, something we never had. And it helps track
But
the,
you weren't here for that meeting.
which meetings.
There's a lot of factors in that, it's more of an art.
Oh, I know,
Than anything, there's a lot of events going on, you can't track one event. There's other.
you
things-
can if they go to Marathon Park. For Badger State for pickleball. So you can actually track from location to location.
My biggest concern was, I know I've heard the talk of using, the motel, room tax for this. And, I've been concerned because it can't just be taken and used for that unless they go under the same criteria that we do with everything else, that they can prove they're bringing in tax dollars.
Right. But I think you guys on tourism are faced with a change in policy and a change with lots of things going forward.
But
So-
that still is the criteria for the state, that it has to be generating roof tax dollars, not just, you know. Okay,
Overnight stays.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
heads and beds.
Yep. But that's why I'll be watching that.
I'm not surprised.
You aren't.
But like I said, that new technology is, I think somewhat questionable too, but it is neat to see. Because like, they won't be able to track it at Green Lake Turner, it's on school property. But they could track how many cars went down Gel Lake the day they held an event. Or others. Parks are open, so they can actually track that. But anything military, church, schools are closed to it, but. So we could actually ask Tim White and say, how many people went to Marathon Park last weekend? And you'd have some idea, better than no idea how many people went there.
Right.
For the pickleball. So then you kind of,
of.
so then next year when they come to you with a request for tourism dollars, they'll have some information.
I'd just rather have a paper survey at the front desk to ask if where they were coming from and why they were staying. And
That's all I have.
do you have anything to add?
Actually, Judy from the tourism, she's there. She come at least during the 3 days tournament. She was there a couple times to see how the system working and how the people working there. How the tournament is running actually. Because you don't run a good tournament, people don't come. And probably sitting people sitting behind me, they can testify to that. If they don't run a good tournament, nobody gonna show up. Or few people gonna show up. Not as many as they like to see. It's no different when we run the soccer. We don't run a good tournament, they're not people gonna come, that's all it is to it. So, with the tournament they're running, I think they're running it well. And also, the tourism, they are watching it. They work with it. So, there is income in there, but there is a people coming to the, they bring people. Right now, everybody stays in city of Weston. Because it's in Marathon Park. They're staying right in the perimeter of the city of Weston, perimeter of the Marathon Park. But as for the tourism money, we wanna spend, I think that's the right money to spend, right place to spend. I haven't seen what, because I know they spend money on soccer. The soccer tournament, when there is. And also, they contribute to the other sports. Also, it's not just the soccer and hockey. But I'm not sure what you're exactly looking for. Where's the money gonna come from? Where the money come from for building the one in Marathon Park? We did a fundraiser. Marathon Park didn't contribute, Marathon County didn't contribute. But that's a smaller project. We built 3 of them first, then later on we had 6 more to it. And and 9 we have in there is not enough. Because you go there Saturday, Sunday, Friday, you see people waiting to get in the court. Because there isn't enough footage. So, and then when you're on a tournament, 400 people show up. You're on a tournament in 3 legs. If you wanna go to that tournament, you can't find a rolling place in that area. So, you go outside of the area, stay outside of the area.
I guess that's something that we'll have to ask, the commission and ask, move forward from there. So number 9. The next meeting date, possibly August 26th, 2024. Topics for future meetings?
So there's nothing listed on the agenda, but we will more likely have the naming rights policy back. We also have the concession lease contract coming up this year. So we're looking at that also.
Any remarks from staff? Remarks from staff?
I have a little bit of update, but I give you a bunch of updates via email prior to me leaving on vacation, but so the curbing at Yellow Banks was completed last week, Wednesday, Thursday-ish.
Yes.
They're coming back this week to do Kelly Land, Williams, and Robinwood.
Well, in the following Monday.
And the following
Thursday,
Monday, yeah, so they have,
Monday.
so they have 3 to do that are prepped. The remaining playground pieces for Kennedy are due at game time on the 24th, and they have to be shipped up here yet, which I think I updated you guys on. They've been to Sand Hill 3 times, no luck, water table's too high, so we did come up with the alternate plan, just over a week and a half ago. So we're actually elevating the playground now, so we added 1.5 feet of fill, so they can actually get the footings in place. But I don't think the installers want to come back to just do that and then come back to finish a couple pieces at Kennedy. So, so we should see completion of that. They were working on the topsoil and the rest of the safety surfacing at Yellow Banks today. So we're gonna get some pictures of that once that's close to complete, so we can include it in the newsletter. We also have a busy week at Kennedy. So we have soccer camp there all week. We also have Everest Adventure Care there on Thursday. They shot the music video, Tony White Tombstone did on 13th. Dino and I were up north during that time period. But
It
they,
got rained out and then they cut for a while.
yeah, they
You
had,
posted that it got rained out for a little while and then they shot it after the rain.
well, there was a monsoon.
Was there
Not
a
unless they stayed after the huge rain,
musician?
because they, how can I say, when they had issues where they couldn't use their speakers or anything, they had live music playing. But they still set up in the bowl and the guy was playing his drums and he was singing, just didn't have his guitar plugged in. Yeah, then they were getting a bunch of shots of all the skaters and stuff. And then when the rains came, they were coming, they just quick tarped everything.
Yeah.
And then I left too.
And it was
So
supposed to be
shot
a
after that.
short
Yeah.
little rainstorm. Well, they probably should have just packed out
Yeah.
because they literally tarped everything and then we had inches of rain shortly. So they said they got enough footage to complete the video. So excited to see that once they got it all cut and produced and all that. So something new for us. You know, the season at the pool is already unfortunately winding down. We got the midway of the season on July 12th. We closed August 18th. But we have a lot of stuff going on. Camp tournament tomorrow, like I said, soccer camp all week. They come to the pool every day. Everest Adventure Care on Thursday, 3 birthday parties Friday, 4 birthday parties Saturday. So there's a lot going on there. But probably the biggest update, we had a little electrical fire there today. Dino's just like,
Oh my
what?
gosh, always something.
So, yeah, fortunately, my staff member asked me to go check the pool chemicals around 11 o'clock. Because it was a little funky this morning, so I walked in there, I'm like, what stinks? I'm like, I wasn't in there this morning. She's like, didn't stink this morning. I'm like, all right, so she's like, I'll come over, and so we had the water heater circulating pump decided it was gonna start something on fire. And we checked all the pumps, circulation pumps, everything, like, where's this coming from? All of a sudden, she looks up, she's like, yeah, there's a smoke, it's a fire, it's not steam, it's not hot water. So we're fortunately, we were able to shut it down, shut off the electricity. The new pump is coming tomorrow, I'm gonna make her install it, even though she's never done it.
You found it, you found it,
The
it's yours.
electricity's off at least.
So it's like this far away from the gas pipeline that feeds the water heater. So-
Nice.
So it was,
That's a
it
great
was,
story, Sean.
it was literally a good thing that she sent me there, because it could have been really bad. And it wasn't.
So there's nothing's heating the pool now?
No, it's just the domestic
Oh, wait,
water.
hold on. What did you
Showers are
say?
So
pretty cold.
showers
Okay,
and,
showers will be cool.
and
Okay.
sinks.
I was gonna say, that's gonna be. a
The pool,
huge
the pool,
drop.
the pool's like 86 right now,
Okay.
so yeah, no worries there. But if you want a shower, it's gonna be way colder than what you see.
Refreshing, they're going to.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
you're gonna wake up after
It's
you
like
get out
a
of the
cold
pool.
plunge, yeah, there we go. Let's see the leak.
So I told Jamie this morning, I'm like, the only time I come in here is when I get bad. It's always out the pool, unfortunately. But not always.
Is,
So.
is it possible to move that to a different, that it isn't right next to it?
So it's a gas water heater, and the
Okay.
pump sits like this far away from the gas pipeline.
Okay.
And the electrical fire started within the motor. So, but no, I mean, I called her over, we figured it out, shut everything down, and the new one's supposed to be here tomorrow, so. But, no, I wish it was always good news, but you know, that's part of the deal. It was replaced in 2019. The water heater was, and the pump's been replaced, this will be the second time. First, I just looked it up today, first time was in 2021. But a lot of it has to do with the fact the building is empty and not heated for 9 months. So seals, gaskets, everything dries out, gets cold. So that's a lot of our issues up there. Freezer shut down last Wednesday, last Monday, chemical pump went down last Monday. And Friday, we had a backup pump for that. So, and what else? Man, you know what it is? The meter, you know?
Oh, the little full?
Yeah, the full meter, decided it was gonna blank out too last Monday, so my vacation started out with a few calls from Jess about what's going on, and but new full meter chemical pump was put online on Friday. So freezer was checked out, it was thawed and checked out, and we'll be looking at possibly including that in the CIP for next year. So I wasn't here, but it was busy with all sorts of stuff,
I
so.
was gonna ask why the pool can't make money, but you answered.
Just about things like that.
So that little circulation pump is about this big, and but I looked at the cost, and it's a lot, 1,300.
We
So,
did talk about putting into CIP major maintenance plan for the pool, just because we know the equipment is aging, what would it mean if we did
A once over?
a once over?
yep,
And then just refreshed it too, right? If we keep it fresh, that keeps people wanting to come back.
Yep.
What would that mean? I think we need a little help on what would that mean and what would it cost?
So now we need a master plan for that.
no, we actually had an evaluation done on the aquatics. So we can base a lot of it on that, and then based on obviously staff knowledge.
If you need a new plan, Jamie could share that with some people.
You're fine.
We're gonna have to meet twice a week. We're gonna have to meet twice a week, Jamie, okay?
Okay. I'm at it. I'm at everybody's mercy. And anything else? Good? Okay, so remarks from committee members. I have a few. So, suggestion, and maybe I should have asked this when G Morty was here, but there is a tournament this weekend at Kennedy, and I don't know if it's too soon, but maybe they could shoot some video this weekend.
He said he was coming this weekend.
Oh, this, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yep, he
I
said
thought
this
you said
weekend.
August.
No, it was July
Okay.
27th, this weekend.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no. Last tournament of the season, except for softball, which we don't know when that is yet, but it's in August.
Okay.
I was hoping they showed up, so we know when it was. Mark's the way you're.
Waiting on.
And then just to make sure, we're gonna ask REI if we're on schedule for phase one. And what was that date again?
It says October.
And then do we have a follow-up question with that, if they can start sooner?
We can ask where they're at in the schedule, and we can ask if they can expedite phase one, what it would mean to expedite.
So then the newsletter, so, my question with the pool is, swim lessons, do they generally fill up, or they vacancies?
No,
No, they fill up pretty.
Yeah,
Okay,
especially the August one. So that one's been booked because, so you have summer school during session 1 and session 2. So we did have some openings, but session 3's been full since probably the first week we opened it up.
Yeah.
We do have wait lists. So if we can add more classes, we actually exceeded our projected revenue already. For swim lessons, we're projected to do 3,500, which is based on previous years. We're at 4,300 as of today as far as swim lessons. So we know swim lessons are popular. It'd be ideal if there either was no summer school or we had a different time that we could offer them. But Rothschild Schofield is already doing evening lessons. So if you're looking for something that works at night, the only problem is they don't actually close. So you actually have to have swim lessons while the public's there, which makes it hard. So we do, 5 levels, and sometimes we have 2 levels, especially 3, 4, and 5 do not necessarily fill up all the time because it's advanced. We had 2 level 3s cancel yesterday or last week. So we do have 2 open in level 3 just because they already took first session and second session, and the kids are like, I'm not doing third session. Basically is what they said, told their parents. So we do have 2 level 3s open at this point, and the wait list is still open too. And we won't finalize that list till the end of this week, and then we'll notify parents if we can move them off wait list. So ideally, we have 8 per level, and in the higher levels, we can actually accommodate usually 10, just because they're more advanced. But with the young ones, you don't want to overwhelm the teacher also. So we try to stick it at 8, and then if you get enough to add a second, it'd be at least 6 for each level. So there's additional costs, but there's also additional revenue. So
I asked, maybe this would help, if we could.
I was gonna try to promote it
Yeah.
when I put out the
really
mid-season
hesitate.
pass, but I'm like, we're already full.
Oh, you were.
Like, I'm gonna promote,
But during-
and they can't sign up.
Sure, but during summer school, maybe have those lessons advertised.
And we did, we promoted it beforehand.
Where though? Cause I didn't see them on the. weekend.
So it's
I
on
had to
the,
really
it was
think
on the, yeah, it was on, probably on Tuesday, spotlight, but it would have been back in early May
Okay.
when we started signing up. I didn't re-promote it because they filled up so fast. Like, we were very full this year. So the goal is to teach as many kids as possible how to swim.
Mhm.
So if we can offer more, we used to offer at 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock. Then nobody showed up for 9 o'clock. It's too cold sometimes, so we just went to 10 o'clock. Otherwise, we were doing 2 sessions per time period. But we dropped that many years ago because we just weren't getting
Yeah.
people at 9 o'clock, you know, so our first session was really tough this year because June was cold, rainy. We canceled 3, had to make them up. The second one went good. They didn't cancel any, right? You said?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we didn't have to do any makeups this week, and then we started a final session next week. So,
I just had to really dig for it, so, and I missed it in the weekly news.
no, I was gonna, like I said, I was gonna promote it for the next sessions, but we were already full. So I was like, I'm gonna promote it, and then nobody can even sign up.
So what's the point?
So that was part of my last spotlight was July 9th, I think it was. I did promoting the mid-season packs. And it was supposed to be swim lessons, but when I looked at it, I'm like, it's full. You can't promote it when it's full.
Right.
So if we had more room available, I would have, but that was the goal initially.
And then if, yeah, and then.
We're working on the playground stuff for
Yeah,
the
For the
newsletter.
wire, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. We have lots of pictures and.
Oh, yeah.
before and
Well,
after and-
We're working, like I said, topsoil and mulch today at Yellow Bank, so we'll get pictures of those completed with the curb. So we can promote.
Do we have like a little story written or something with it, you know?
Do you have one in your hand, or?
I don't. I don't know if they're right one.
All right, all right.
No, we got it. We got it. We got it.
Okay.
We'll figure it out. Oh, yeah.
I just
For
said
sure.
yes.
You're just good with words.
Not sure if we did the pictures and we did some, like, a bubble is what comes to mind, but, big bullets around it that would say that we utilized ARPA, that it didn't use levy, that would call kind of it more out to attention to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
About reading a lengthy article, just kind of.
yeah, making it big and bold on the big bullet points that, yeah.
Have you been in?
Oh, no, I have not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know. It's on my list to do with kids.
I'm
so.
sure Dino's seen Kelly Land, right
Yeah,
there with the dog.
Yeah, I think I've been to all of them. So, yeah.
No, we have some, you know, committee members, trustees that have been just checking out all of them.
Well, I
You know.
On my
drive
list,
past, I don't stop and.
Well,
You don't stop and play bars?
You don't want to swing right.
And you see the posts from Wasamama? Wasa, right? Wasamama? Yeah, on Yellow Banks. Totally, like, love Yellow Banks. The mossy grove. Remember that color? And we were picking it out?
Yeah.
I'm like, and then by the time we left, I'm like, let's do it. It's full. And I think it's the prettiest one as far as color wise.
So is that just a group of moms?
Yep,
Then
yep.
they meet at different locations.
I was gonna say it must have been last Thursday, because there was like 15 cars, with all mom and kids.
Yep, and they promote different things around town that, you know, for families to do, and so, no. So very positive, everything we've gotten as far as playgrounds, pretty much is positive, like,
I had more people ask about Samuel, or one.
yeah, that's
And they
the one
said,
that's
"How
still
come?"
underwater.
Yeah, and they said, what are they putting up there? And I said, playground equipment. Well, it's been laying there forever.
It's been laying there for, pretty close to 2 months,
And it's probably, I mean, it's perfect timing because summer school is done.
but they've tried 3 times, and the water table's so high down there that every time they drill a hole, it fills in with water. So, like I said, we came up with a plan about a week and a half ago to elevate it, that one, so they could actually get their footings to the ground. So we added a 1.5 foot fill, and hopefully next time they return, they can actually drill the holes and get the footings in place.
Because I kind of laughed, so I think they were having some issues with water, but I couldn't.
Well, somebody lives down there and's been having problems with some pump going constantly. So I can testify what's going on down there. So,
Cool. Yeah, I anticipate that parks are, the playgrounds are gonna get busy here with this summer school being out. I'm excited to check them out. You were supposed to give me a tour.
So you don't know.
I'm kidding.
we could probably, if you wanted to, do something as far as like call it an open house, but an announcement and have some people meet out there and announce the opening of the playground. You know, sometime in August or early September, once they're pretty much all wrapped up, and just kind of do something just to get it out there.
Mhm.
I've had a couple suggestions about doing that just because it is so huge.
Yeah.
You know,
And we know about it because we're here planning,
yep,
but.
I got a call today when this playground at Sand Hill gonna be done, and you know, I mean, there's people wanting updates, but most of the time they call just because we're not like
announcing
pushing it out there,
Right.
you
So
know,
that's why
not
we-
yet.
Right, about the weekly newsletter though, like we say, hey, this one's done, this one's at whatever percentage.
Yep, but that's
you
kind of
know.
how we did it initially, was just putting it out there, the ones that were open, but not completely done. So should have 2 at Yeldon's completely done, and then, like I said, moving on to Williams, Gilliland, and Robinwood. Should have some curbing there by the end of this week, early next week, and then we get 4 semi-loads of mulch coming in this week.
Yes, by the end of the week.
So we should have the materials we need here to,
Finish
I mean, for us that didn't think we were starting until next month, we're doing pretty good.
it. Yeah.
Right? They said late summer.
Right.
Well, they started in April,
Check that box, right?
so.
I thought the first one was, you know, I thought, wow, I like those. I like the colors.
Oh, and are we still able to submit photos? Okay, because I did try this QR code and I don't know if I don't count, but. Yeah, but it would not let me submit a picture. So I just emailed it to Rachel.
Okay, that'll work too.
Right, but I didn't
For
know if
everybody
it
else?
was happening to everybody else, so if Rachel could maybe, I did let her know that the QR code didn't work, but I didn't specifically ask her to. use it.
Yeah, we can do that. I'll make
Okay.
myself.
Okay. Oh. We don't have any kayak pictures in here, so.
Yeah, Mark's talking, but I don't think we can hear him. Only. I can hear him, barely.
I'm not talking.
Oh, now you are.
Well, yeah, but I thought I was on mute. I'm sorry.
I could hear you a little bit.
Is there no crowd there tonight?
Was.
There was a few.
Oh, Mike Mullen by chance?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. who that is.
No? Okay. If not, I'm gonna go visit him down in at McDonald's in Schofield, so. All right, I'll let you guys be. I thought there might be a crowd there tonight. Was it okay?
Yep, all good.
Okay. Hey, you guys
Thanks,
all have a
Mark.
great night. Thanks for what
Yeah,
you do.
Tim and
All right.
Sarah were here.
All right. Bye.
Committee,
what-
committee.
Committee, yeah, where are we? Remarks from committee, announcements. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn Parks and Rec meeting?
So moved.
All right, motion by Carino.
No, that's Alan. That's the sheriff's clerk.
Oh, I'm
I'm
sorry.
working.
Yes.
How long have you known me?
Motion by Easter. Second by Ermeline. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any more discussion? Motion passed. First reading.
Thank you all.
Meeting is now adjourned.